Well, you asked for it, and here it is. Melanie Tonia Evans, an expert and best-selling published author regarding narcissist recovery. She has a program called the Narcissist Abuse Recovery Program. Why? Because she's been there and done that. She has a pretty incredible story, one that brought her to the brink of death, her own decision to end her life, until she turned everything around and realized there's another way. I spent almost an hour with her exploring where she was at that point and why do people stay with narcissists? What is a narcissist anyways? We've had a lot of questions about that. We're going to answer those in this video, this special podcast. And stay to the end because she has something really cool coming up, a special boot camp that if you are a victim of narcissism, maybe it's time for you to get the kind of help that could turn things around in a very short period of time. So welcome to Landria Onkka on YouTube. Here's my special podcast with Melanie. Let's go. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm very excited today because, as you know, I've been talking about narcissism. What is it? People are bringing it up a lot lately, and I can't really wrap my head around it. So when I was asked to interview Melanie Tonia Evans, who's an expert in it, and I'll share her credentials here in a moment with you, I was very excited. I said, wow, this is great timing because I just shot a video saying, what's going on out there? I'm not an expert at this. And, you know, we manifest everything here on my channel. So she appeared. And so we're going to have an awesome discussion today. But let me give a little introduction before I let her talk. So welcome, Melanie. So here is what I want to read right off of her site because it explains everything. Melanie Tonia Evans survived and thrived as a result of her NARP system, and I'll explain that in a moment, after near-fatal abuse. She's an internationally recognized narcissistic abuse recovery expert and the author of the #1 Amazon bestseller, You Can Thrive After Narcissistic Abuse. Melanie has been interviewed by several global mainstream channels and was awarded the prestigious Kindred Spirit Global Personality of the Year Award in 2019 for her contribution to global healing from abuse. Her unique NARP system is recommended by doctors, counselors, psychologists, specialists, domestic violence workers, and relationship experts globally. After observing how people shift from trauma into healing in ways and timeframes that defied their usual expectations. Welcome, Melanie. I'm very excited. So we're going to get right into it. What does NARP stand for?
Well, first of all, Landria, thanks for having me on, and I'm glad that this is manifesting timing for you. It's awesome. Yeah, so NARP stands for the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Which is what you're all about right now. And there's not that she doesn't have many other options. We're going to talk a lot about this one program. And before the end of this whole interview, we're going to share some things that are coming up. They're very exciting. So stay tuned. So Melanie, I'm going to get right into it. I really have not personally dealt with what I would consider narcissistic. And I've actually talked to my audience a lot about ego versus narcissism and what the difference is. I really want to explore that. But before we do, I want to know, who's Melanie? What is your background? What was the experience that brought you to where we are now?
Yeah, and Landria, I'm going to give the simplified version because it's quite a big story, but I was into personal development. I was a metaphysician. I was also a coach in many ways on personal development. And at 35, I thought I had my whole life figured out. And I'd always had intimate relationship issues. And the man of my dreams walked into my life, and he was everything on my manifestation list, which was really interesting. And at 35, I hadn't been married. And within 4 months, I was engaged and got married, which surprised everybody, most of all myself. And this human being, I ended up in an abusive relationship that I'd never been in before, which was mind-bending, to say the least, because he was just so wonderful. But yet there were things that I saw, which was pathological jealousy. There was lying. There was gaslighting, which I'd never experienced, arguments that made my head spin. And as it turned out, he had faked a terminal cancer condition. It ended up escalating to literal violence, which was physical as well as mental and emotional and sexual and financial. And what stunned me, Landria, was I was hooked in. Logically, I knew 100% I had to leave this individual. But I ended up with this perverse addiction to him, which was just, it was trauma bonding. I didn't know that at the time. Anyway, I would get out, I'd go back in. And of course, I was enmeshed financially and in every way imaginable. And one day, I ended up just with this thought that popped into my head was narcissist. And this was way back, around 18, 19 years ago. There wasn't a lot out there.
Yeah.
And I Googled it and I fell off my chair. But then I started researching, how do you fix this? How do you change this? And I ended up seeing a narcissistic personality disorder specialist who, and in one of the Hoovers, I'll do anything, he actually sat with her as well. And she said to me, yes, he's a malignant narcissist. And there's only 4 ways that this can end up. Either he's going to kill you, you're going to end up having an absolute psychotic breakdown, which will ruin you. You're going to get a terminal disease. You are so sick and traumatized, which will take you out, or you're going to kill him. There's no happy endings here. You have to get out. You have to get away. So she had the information, but there was no healing solution. So I'd get out, I'd go back in, either he'd hoover me in or, with all these promises of getting better, or I would go back to him and try and fix it. I ended up having that psychotic breakdown, which was a complete adrenal mental breakdown. And I was told at the time that my adrenals, and it was a complete breakdown, I would need 3 antipsychotics for the rest of my life, and that I could have a heart attack or a stroke at any time. At that stage, I was like 80 pounds. I hadn't really eaten for 6 months.
Wow.
All of my hair had fallen out in clumps. I couldn't sleep for any more than an hour. I would have a raging nightmares every night. It was like Nightmare on Elm Street. It was horrific. I shook, I sweated. I had complicated post-traumatic. I had it all. And like a lot of people do, And at that time, I'm not good with aspirin. I thought this is the end of the road. So I decided it was time to exit planet Earth. So I was lying on my bed. I'd been medicated, which stopped the psychotic episodes. And I was planning how to do it for the best way for my family and my son to leave. I didn't see any other option.
Wow.
And I'd survived so many things in my life, but this brought me to end of the line. As I was doing that, trying to work it out, this voice in my head kept saying, no, there's another way. There's another way. I'd always been spiritual, Landria. So I walked to my bathroom. I fell on my bathroom floor, put my hands up, and I just screamed, help me. I can't, I've got nowhere to go.
Total
and in this surrender,
yeah.
Total. And in this surrender, I had this massive experience, which was like my head parted and I had a literal experience that was so crystal clear. And maybe you have to be out of your head to get the truth.
Dark night of the soul, right? When you surrender completely, there's an opening. Wow.
Yes. And in this opening, I had this voice speaking to me, and I'd had it since a child anyway. I'd always been spiritual in a channel. And this voice explained it all to me, that this had actually been all about my unseen, unmet wounds, and that he was actually a catalyst in my life, reflecting back what I hadn't healed yet, to a point where it would have to get my attention. I was catapulted into the future where I felt and saw myself as I am today, like thriving and space in my cells and feeling source flowing through me. And I've never felt that in my life ever. So I somatically experienced it. I saw it in the vision. The voice said to me, this is your future if you choose this mission, but you have to heal from the inside out. Everything you've been doing is wrong. It has to be another way. So, and I got shown the other way, which had to be somatic, subconscious reprogramming, stop researching, learning, talking, and make it all about me. So I got thrown back into my emaciated, shaking body, and the voice said to me, you can leave if you want, it's your choice, or you can choose the mission. What are you going to do? So I chose with what I had left, which was a fragment. I chose the mission because I'd felt it. I knew it was real. So I wasn't healed by any stretch of the imagination. I was still horrifically, I was at ground zero. And the next day, with the medical establishment, I talked my way out of antipsychotics, which was a miracle. How they even let me do that. Divine intervention. And that started a journey where I was literally going inch by inch, second by second. But I had the experience the next day where I was in the bath and the voice was still talking to me and guiding me and said, please. And I was guided to do this visualization of meeting my inner child. And I lay in the bath and I imagined her and I cuddled her and I saw her in a shocking state. And I just said, sweetheart, I'm here. I'm so sorry I've gone missing. I'm so sorry. I tried to get everything else to soothe you. I know you've been waiting for me. I don't know how we're going to do this, but I'm never leaving you again. And I just cried and held her. And from that moment, the CPTSD and the psychotic visions stopped just because I'd come home. And then step by step, so I ended up the most amazing, and I'd lost everything. Like I was in masses of debt. I couldn't work. It seemed like there was no way out of, he'd defeated me. He'd taken my property. It was just, which I'd paid for, and all the goodies. And, and he defeated me legally. I'd capitulated because he nearly killed me. I'd lost everything. I'd lost everybody in my life and everything. So all I had left was me, my inner being. And step by step, moment by moment, the synchronicities and the miracles and the cues and the guidance that came led me to somatic healing modalities. So things like EFT, EMDR, theta healing.
Can you explain that for those of us who don't know what that is? When you use
I'd love to.
But I mean, just what is that?
Extrapolate it. Yeah. I'll unpack that a little. Absolutely. So EFT is like tapping. EMDR is like eye movements.
Okay.
But what this is about contacting the subconscious programs that are holding on to the trauma rather than just trying to talk or think or research. It's addressing the trauma on an inner level. And I studied theta healing, body code, lots of different things, and got certified in a lot of things. Then I came across kinesiology, which I was like a duck in her favorite pond. I was like, and I had been with all of it. So I became obsessed, with stuff. But what I found with all of these things, I was getting results, because I had shocking fibromyalgia as well as PTSD, and all these things were melting away. And I ended up, because I'd already been a holistic practitioner and coach and a mindfulness coach anyway. So I put a lot of different things together to heal myself. And I got so far, and I had clients and they were healing as well. But I had an agoraphobia condition, which was the fear of out in open spaces. And it was really persistent. Nothing was fixing it. I even outsourced to the best of the best body healing modality people. They couldn't get it off permanently. And another synchronicity led me to crazy. The whole thing was just so orchestrated. I ended up in Thailand with a girlfriend. The trip there with agoraphobia nearly destroyed me, by the way, because I don't do medication. I got there in this haze of, I don't even know who I am and what my name is. And then I ended up it was horrific, to say the least. And I ended up in a hotel room and a beautiful perimeter, which I couldn't step out of because of the agoraphobia, was too crippling. And after a few days, she'd come home with shopping bags and one day she was out. I'm like, no, I have to do this. I have to. So I went to the hotel room and I set the intention that I was going to get the answer of how to put together a healing protocol that would end the agoraphobia. So I said to Source in this voice, I said, I'm ready. I'm going to open my mind, my body, my soul, my heart, and I'm going to channel the answer. And immediately I started taking dictation, and it was healing protocols and formulas I knew. There were things I didn't know, but yet I did know them. And as I was writing it down, Landria, I knew this. I was so excited because I knew it was going to work. And I didn't know that this was the first ever quantum freedom healing, which is now what I've released to the world. But anyway, I'm writing it down. And after I did a 2-hour healing on myself. And what I found was deep core traumas from past lives, from the collective, that were basically, it's not safe to be in my body. It's not safe to be a woman. It's not safe to be in life. Humans aren't safe. And that is exactly the experience that I had with the ex-narcissistic husband, who had completely smashed and activated that to the unconscious, completely conscious level, where it was in my energy field, couldn't be put back in the box. And that's what had been working with me and derailing me ever since. So loading that up, letting all of that go from the subconscious compartments where it had been trapped, and then being able to replace it with source light, which is the divine infinite mind that can heal what we can't, which is expansiveness, power, safety. You're immortal, eternal, and infinite and can never be destroyed, and all of those things. So what happened is I emerged out of this healing. I walked out into Koh Samui on the main street, and this craziness just expanded at one. Source had my back. I was just the freest I'd ever been in my life. And and I was like, oh my God, because I realized as a little girl, I'd hid behind my mum's skirt my whole life. I'd been born this way. So I'd been completely up-leveled, upgraded to my true self, to my true source potential, and it never went. And then when I got back to Melbourne, where I was healing people, I said, I'd call it holographic healing. I'm like, we're putting that away. We're doing this now. And then what happened were people who had some stuck stuff as well. They were all liberating quickly. Some of them had doctors, domestic violence specialists, psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors. These people started ringing me and emailing me, and they're saying, what happened to my patient? What happened? So they came, because as we know, a lot of practitioners have had their own stuff. That's why. So they were getting liberated. Yes. So this is in Melbourne, right? And then before I knew it, Landria, I was booked out. And then the voice said to me, you can't do one-on-one like this. You need to create a program. And I'm like, how do I do that? So I got all the instructions, directions. I created the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program. And I was saying to this guide, how can my recorded voice do it? And it said, just do the visualizations, the intentions, and the imprints and the healings, and it will work in a recording. Then I gave it to my clients and I said, could you please just trial run this? Then they started, the ones using it were healing 10 to 20 times faster than the people coming to me once a week, because anytime they were triggered or had stuff up, they could put on the healing, put on the headphones, follow the visualizations, free themselves from trauma. And then I ended up saying to them, you actually don't need me, just use the program. And then what happened was They were on abuse forums and stuff globally. They started telling people. So then all these people are contacting me saying, can I get the program? And before I knew it, it was in 130 different countries. Tens of thousands of people were graduating from it, and it just exploded.
Wow.
That's the story.
This is exciting because, and this is why I'm so excited to have you on my channel, because I teach the same principles, and that is, we go to the outside world to patch things. We don't go in and ask why this is even happening, or if it even has purpose. And we always feel like victims, and look at what has produced from this for you. Great purpose. And of course, like you said, from past lives, whatever trauma came forward, it's your time to, go outside of all of this and be the light shower of what can be done. Mm-hmm. And it all has meaning. I always tell people, we can't discount all the pain, and all the things that happen. There is divine purpose in everything. And look what has happened in this lifetime. You made it purposeful, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's so powerful. But so I have a question, because I have had quite a few friends tell me that they were married to narcissists or dated narcissists. And I've heard this so many times. And finally, actually, the other day I said, why is everybody saying everyone's a narcissist? What do you think a narcissist is? And what's the difference between a real big ego or controlling person or insecure person or jealous person versus narcissist? What is that difference?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And it is a word that really does get thrown around, I believe, too much.
I do too.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm just going to put it this way. I'm not one for actually saying, let's diagnose the other person there, but I will explain the difference, and I'll explain why I said that. Narcissistic personality disorder is the personality disorder. Okay. Now, that's a big deal. However, there are people that act narcissistically, and we can all act narcissistically.
Right.
If we're triggered into a wound, what happens is we age regress, we step out of character, and we end up using a defense mechanism from that age or even from that past lifetime. Now, when we're in defenses, it's all about self, and the ego, I call it edging God out, means that we're not in expansive collective consciousness, and we don't have a peripheral of others and how to show up in decency and kindness with boundaries. We go into, I've got a predator coming for me and I've got to get up a tree, or I've got to fight, flee, freeze. They're defenses. So that can be narcissistic, because if you get triggered into an age regressive wound, you may put your best foot forward. You may be nasty. You may come out with a low blow. You might say something that's childish, that's, or even behave in a way that's not nice. We're all capable of that. But here's the difference, Landria. Somebody who can act narcissistically, who still has a conscience, who cares about others, who's into kindness, can apologize time appropriately and say, look, I'm sorry I said that, or I behaved like that, or I was nasty. I know that hurt you, and I'm going to look at myself in regard to that so that I don't keep behaving like that. And I really believe, Landry, there's two types of people. Those of us who take personal responsibility and want to grow and become better human beings, or those that stay stuck in their defenses, blame everybody else, do the victimhood and say, well, my life's like this because you're like this, and I'm going to get angry about it and resent it, and I'm going to focus on that. Narcissists actually are the ultimate victims. They take zero responsibility. They blame everybody else for their life. But let's get to the purpose of the conversation, which really is, how do we know we've got somebody narcissistic in our life that really we can't work with? We can't get them to grow up, show up, or level up. in their behavior. Now, whether they're NPD or they're not, whether they're black, green, gold, or a giraffe, it really doesn't matter. Whether they're a sociopath, whether they're covert, overt, whether they're just selfish, whether they're completely unconscious. If you've got somebody in your life who will not show up, won't fess up, and won't level up, you don't have a hope. Accountability is massive. If somebody will never be accountable for their behavior, who won't own it, who can't apologize, and won't do durable remorse, which means, and I'm not saying I'm going to apologize when you're walking out the door and when I see that you're going to leave me. No, it's apologize time appropriately. So let narcissists or narcissistic behavior steps on your toes. Absolutely. Once the mask falls, these people are entitled. They're selfish. One of the biggest problems is they have a hairline trigger of any perceived criticism. So you can't actually collaborate with these people. Collaboration and cooperation is also about nicely asking for what you need and pointing out to somebody when they're doing something right, so that you're explaining to somebody what you need and how they can serve you better. That's a healthy adult relationship, whether it be a friendship, whether it be in a business partnership, whether it be in a love relationship, whether it be in a family. Any true relationship requires honesty. Yeah. Okay. Now, what happens with a lot of us when we get into narcissistic relationships, we were quote unquote the codependent type, which meant we were people pleasers, which meant that what we would do is go along to get along. We're the ones that in our own virtue and our empathy say, well, I'm the one that gives and cares, and, you know, I'm kind of leading the way in that. But we haven't been good with boundaries. We haven't been good with speaking up and saying, no, I'm actually not comfortable with that. And this is what I would need from you. And, you know, you do this and you do that and you leave everything for me. And I actually need you to step up and cooperate and contribute. Narcissist or narcissistic behavior doesn't do partnership, doesn't do collaboration, doesn't do cooperation. The problem with a lot of us is we went into these relationships doing more than our fair share, which codependents do. We didn't ask for that. We didn't set boundaries, and it's too late by the time these people, because narcissists also do not like being, you don't know what you're getting. They can walk in the door, they can stonewall you, they can give you the cold shoulder. They play with your emotions. When you bring up something to a narcissist, what they will do, you will feel like you're having an argument with a 5-year-old because they twist, they turn, they go off topic. They bring up what happened 6 months ago that you'd reconciled. You thought you had, and they've been sitting on it. They will bring in other people and they will abuse you by proxy. They will stonewall you. They will gaslight you. They will throw a low blow at you. The reason why, and it's not adult, it's not mature, and it's certainly not kind. Then what happens is you get triggered because you're being violated. You're being gaslit and violated, and they lie. You catch out a narcissist or somebody acting narcissistically in a lie, they will double, triple, quadruple down to the narcissist. And you were there. You've got the photo proof. And they will still lie and look you straight in the eyes. And you're mind blown. And you will point at the photo screaming, this is the truth. They will continue on. Now, behavior at this level and the smearing and the malicious, disgusting acts they're capable of, and the malicious abandonment and the cheating and the things at that level, forget it. Forget it. You're going to be destroyed, and you will never hold these people accountable. You just won't. Even if you do and they come back into your life, you're going to go through it even worse again. So anyway, I hope that that's a snapshot, but there might be another question in there that can help.
So what's interesting is, because I'm laughing because some of the stuff you're saying, I had a friend years ago, she was a psychiatrist, and she said that narcissists are so good, they'll come in and they want help, and the next time you see them, she said, they're so good that they would have me questioning myself. Like, I
Absolutely.
never said that. And you turned it around. She said one time, somebody got her, she was crying and she realized, wait a minute, this guy's brilliant. Can you imagine what he's doing to his spouse if he's doing this to me? And she said, she stopped seeing him. She said, that's how powerful they can be and manipulative. And I thought that was really interesting. She's trained, and she said he had questioning herself.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
chemical. The problem is it's chemical, it's physiological.
Yeah.
Your addiction to them, which is trauma bonding, is so I could do a 2-hour show with you on that, but I'll try and simplify it. Because what's happening is you've got cortisol, which is adrenaline, which is the trauma, and then you have dopamine. So you're getting these massive rushes of chemicals that your body's actually getting hooked to, and you get trauma bonded to this person like crack cocaine. It's horrific.
Yeah. So let's talk about the other side of that. I train student breakthrough fear is my big course, and I do the same thing. It's like we take 100% responsibility.
Love it.
We claim I said, I don't let them off the hook. In fact, they can't get past to the next lesson until I say, you had to participate with everything. Doesn't mean you're wrong, but there's a reason for that. So let's look at the reason where it's coming from, because we can't get past it unless we say, oh, it's that, and I believed that, or I made a choice, because I said everything's a choice. So let's talk about the other party in a narcissistic relationship. And I've seen this too, where they just won't leave, and they have every excuse in the book, plus the victimization. So what's at the root of that? And obviously your whole program deals with that. So what
totally,
discuss like right now that like, what is at the root of that?
At the root of that, and it can be really hard for people to hear, initially, if somebody had told me this, I would have wanted to punch them in the cake hole. I really would have. So I get it. It's really hard to come to this, but you have to if you're going to survive and thrive. It's the way through. At the root of that, we all had unfinished stuff. So I'm going to give a really simple example. So I call it love codes. So my love code is like so many others. Like my inner love codes were the people I love abandon me. They invalidate me. They abuse me. So, a lot of us were really capable and successful in all areas of our life, but really, there was this part of us that still hurt, that was unhealed. And a lot of us also too had kind of addictive tendencies to try to numb out that pain. So whether it be like food or alcohol or over exercising or overworking or overlooking after other people, those were our coping strategies. But what happens is when a narcissist comes into your life as a friend, as a work colleague, as a love partner, they're very, very good. It's their survival at tuning in, and they ask you questions, and they're very interested, and they body mock you, and they make you feel very comfortable. But they find out with you what hurts and what's missing. And then what they do is they look you straight in the eyes, and they know how to do all the body language. They will purport to you that they're the missing piece in your life. That's the Trojan horse that gets in the gate. So you open the gate, you think it's gifts, and you let them in and you shut the gate. And what happens is you bond with these people very, very quickly, because they're actually giving you dopamine at that time, which is the relief from the emptiness and the fractures. So you let them in there, and they feel so familiar. When people say, oh my God, he was my soulmate.
Yeah.
Right? And they bond. It's a real soul contract. So they're in the gates are shut, they come out. Then they, for a while, they give you all of the belief and all of the goodies and all of the love bombing and all of the everything. So you let them into, your body, your bed, your mind, your soul, your heart, your finances even. And then what happens is the mask starts dropping, and that person was actually never real, but you believed it was so completely at a soul level that you hang on to that version of that person. and you want them to go back to that. So then what comes out is the devaluing and the discarding. Now, what the narcissist is doing is as a vampiric entity who is, there are no self, they're a false self. Their true self, they've completely put it to sleep. It's catonic, it's in the corner, it doesn't function. They created an ego, etching God out, a false self, which is a version of themselves that they would like to be. And it's actually delusional. This is why they lie so much. It's fictitious. Now, this false self has no energy source of its own, so it actually needs to suck life force from others. It's like a black hole. Staff, acclaim, notoriety, prestige, all of those things. But at the bottom of it is attention, because narcissists on the inside don't just feel dead and empty. They have this inner self that is so destroyed, so insecure, so fractured and broken that this keeps coming up all the time, and they have to self-medicate it with superiority. So when you're down on your knees and you're crying and you're broken and you're begging and you're pleading and you're screaming for clemency, the narcissist gets this massive A-grade narcissistic supply of, look how superior I am, to affect another individual so dramatically. So it's an ego boost, good or bad, it doesn't matter. So here's the glue that holds it together, is you're trying to get the dopamine of the relief of your unhealed wounds from them. They're smashing the exact unhealed wounds up into massive, just a massive level. And you're trauma bonded to, it's actually Stockholm syndrome, to the abuser smashing your unhealed wounds up. You're looking at them as the savior, clinging to them to try to get them to fix it. And you're trauma bonded, you're addicted. There's all this stuff. This is why we need a deep healing program. This is so intense and convoluted that you need to pull away and know that the saving of you is between you and true source, which is what NARP does. And then what happens is all of those trauma bonds and all of those ties dissolve. But what's awesome about this, and it is hard work, and you've got to be dedicated, and you have to have enough of the pain. You have to be committed. But the results are quick and fast and powerful if you are. And then what happens is, not just do you get away from the abuser, you've up-leveled all of those unconscious internal reasons that made you susceptible in the first place. And you go up to a higher trajectory in life of your capacity, your expansion, and your potential and possibilities and cooperation with the entire field, where it actually hands you your best life on a silver platter.
So I have a question about that. So I totally understand what you're talking about, but is there another component also, that because of what this person comes in and it's working with the other party, it's totally working on her or him, it could be him. Is there a part of the receiver that wants to fix it? And it's about, if I can make them right.
For sure.
Okay, because I remember having
absolutely
a friend who would always date guys that were alcoholics and abusive, and I found out her father was, and so she went to see,
just about to say,
it's mimicking, but she would stay with 100%. Them. She said, if I can make this right, it somehow is
correct. 100%. And I'm really glad you brought up that point. There is this other layer to it, 100%, where I'm choosing people that represent, the parent that I was trying to get love, approval, security, and survival from in order to create my inner wholeness. I didn't get it from my parent. So I'm choosing the same people again. And it's an unconscious thing. If I can fix you, I fixed it with daddy.
Yeah, it'll be okay.
Exactly.
Always just trying to make it okay. Yeah,
exactly.
And I always tell people, even people that are in, have parents that are abusive, and I always tell them, let's really look at the parent and where they came from. And we
Yeah.
always look at ourselves. That's why I see the responsibility is so huge, because when you go into
Yeah.
compassion, you can say, they came from something else. There's something else going, and we go
So
to
true.
part of compassion too is being able to let go of it, but not sticking around
Exactly.
for it either. I said, it doesn't mean you have to hang, and it doesn't make it okay either. But
Mm.
are narcissists typically from abusive homes? Are
This
they?
is another great question.
Okay.
Yeah, typically they are. There is a nature and nurture component in it. And in quantum freedom healing and in the journey I took and I take other people to, there are layers of trauma programming.
Mhm.
There are layers. So it comes from our collective programming. It comes from absolutely ancestral program. It even says in the Bible, the sins of the father and 7 generations. And they've proven epigenetically that a child born in a traumatic household is born with an enlarged amygdala, which means that they've got defense mechanisms, they've got ego survival programs, which is what narcissism is.
Wow.
So and you can have identical twins brought up the same way. One of them's a codependent, the other is a narcissist.
Wow.
So yeah, because survival programs go one or two ways. It's either the codependent aspect. If I try to fix and change you, then you're going to love me healthily.
Mhm.
That's the codependent in a nutshell. The narcissist is, I'm going to separate from you. I'm going to create a false self and I'm going to lie and manipulate and control
Yeah.
to get what I want from you.
Yeah. Wow. This is pretty powerful stuff. So somebody right now in a
Mm.
situation, and I think, it's tough because, coaching myself, and I hear the same thing as, I get it, but I'm in such a deep, dark hole. How do
Oh,
I
yeah.
how do I get here to even try and crawl out of it? What's the first step
Mm.
besides obviously coming to see you and taking the program? But right
Yeah.
now, if somebody today could take that first step to just try and see a little
Mm.
bit of light, what would you recommend?
It's very hard for people because, and I just want to validate it first, because when you're wrapped up with a narcissistic individual, you're not just going to lose the dream of what you thought your life was going to be with this person. And even with a parent, or, a lot of people are still, as adults, playing it out with narcissistic parents. You've got the dream of the parent that this should be, that one day you're going to get love and approval from this person, or recognition, or so you are definitely, that dream is gone. You can't make a cat lay an egg. It's impossible. And I've got one on
I
the
don't know. There's a
table
lot
here.
of viral videos on there. Somebody's going to try that now because you mentioned it.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I would too.
So you're gonna lose that dream. The other thing is, with a narcissistic individual, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose stuff. These people are entitled, they're pathological. Once a ship goes down, they're the one with the lifeboat packing all the cargo on. And they're going, and they can pull out. So, however, I will say in our community, we have people that regularly do win against them. And there are ways that you can, and we coach and heal you to do that,
That's
which
it.
is awesome news.
That's
But
huge.
where you're sitting right now, you are facing a shocking time. You've seen now that when it gets to that level, you know what they're capable of. And I promise you, you don't even know what they're capable of. Because
Mm.
at the end, you are going to go through the roughest time of your life. And this is why the right support, the right coaching, the right healing is so important. Don't try and do that alone. But if you've got no other option, it's better than staying. You're on a sinking ship. Whatever you think you're going to save, you're going to lose all of it. Plus, you're going to lose your soul, and you're going to go into demise. It is that serious. It really is. So I would say to you, you have to know thy enemy. There's the right ways to leave. I would love people, anybody thinking of leaving, please Google my name and leaving a narcissist and research all of that. If you have to get out today, well, then you have to get out today. You need to block all contact, No contact is everything. You have to block these people. Don't tell them where you are. And you need to go and put yourself somewhere where, but I would say to you, you need to think like the enemy. And beautiful, lovely people often don't. They want to do the fair and the right thing. They also know if they do anything, shifty themselves, that the narcissist is going to use that and tell everybody and smear you, and get demonize you to everybody. They do. They're going to try to get you to lose your job. They do.
Wow.
They're that bad. They're that bad. Not all of them. A lot of them are. This is probably how you can tell the difference between somebody's acting narcissistically and somebody who's narcissistic personality disordered. Narcissistic personality disordered is malicious, and they will smear and attack, and they have no care for you, no care for the kids. There's all of these sorts of things. So, but knowing thy enemy means that you leave nothing open. You don't give them access to anything. You plan it, you shut it all down, you take what you need, and you do it in a very clandestine manner. Because I promise people, and they see it, when you leave a narcissist, it will blow your brains as to what this person is capable of. You are the enemy. You need to start thinking like that person is the enemy. Be very careful about who you share information with and what you're going to do. But I can't say it enough. Just the logical information is not going to be enough. How you get through this battle the most and the best is by working and looking after and nurturing your inner self, because the narcissist's greatest arsenal, and they've been using it all along, is to trigger you into an emotional reaction to derail you where you are helpless and hopeless. And if you seal that up, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain with all the smoke and mirrors, and you pull back the curtain, there's this little withered up little man. They are all that when you are solid on the inside, where you're no longer emotionally derailed, when you are building yourself, your recovery, your future life and present life with Source. These people fall over like dominoes. And that's what we do in our community. We've defeated the most horrific narcissists because we know the practical formulas, and most of all, we know the spiritual internal formulas, because you are literally in a spiritual battle for your soul with these people.
So I want to ask you about this. By the way, I have all of her information in the description, every link you could imagine. So if you want to seek help and go into the course, you can contact her directly. And you have publications, courses, and we're going to talk about what's coming out here shortly. But so obviously you have what you just said, a community. So coming in, you're not just alone in this course. You have other people that are going through it, sharing in a private situation. And I think that's so important. And so that's all part of it. Now, when somebody comes in, you were talking about the online course, do they get access to you at all? Are you doing live training or coaching at all? How does that work?
Well, what we have is we have a community forum, which is super thrivers, moderators, and thrivers who are kind of next layer down from me. And they personally, on the daily, help people with all the resources, all the healing shifts and everything they need. People have me literally, quantumly, energetically, every single healing you're doing. My energy imprints are in there. So it's amazing because so many people in the community say to me, like, I feel like I know you like my sister, because that's going on constantly in your healings. I am personally, what happens is people who come into my interactive online courses, coaching courses, they have me personally. And we've got a 10-week which is a healing, thriving boot camp, which is coming up September 12th.
Okay, yeah.
Which is
So let's talk about that. 10 weeks, that's pretty darn quick.
10
Well,
weeks.
I
10
can see
weeks.
why professionals are
Yeah.
sending people to you. So let's talk about
Yeah.
that. This is
Yes.
2023,
Yes.
just in case you're watching this a year later. And so it's a boot
Yes.
camp starting when?
It starts September the 12th, 2023. So it's twice a week we get on for the first session every week is 4 hours. And we've got a curriculum of the 10 weeks that we're working through all of the things that are still hooking you in from abuse, any person of your life, relationship toxicity and trauma. So we're working into healthy interdependent relationships and freedom of yourself to be able to break off, dissolve out the pain and the false programs to step into a new program of a relationship of self, life, and others with great boundary function that works. So that's why it's called Thrive. So we do massive big group quantum freedom healings, which literally shifts lifetimes of trauma out into the reprogramming a source. They're really powerful. And we do a Q&A once a week as well, where we get on and I get direct with people answering questions, their specific questions. So we do that for around 2 hours once a week. And the other session is a 4-hour session. Plus you get all of your materials and all of the healings are saved as a resource for life.
Wow, this is great. All right, so my question is, are the majority of people coming into your classes still with the narcissist and looking to get out? Or would you say that's more the typical situation?
There really isn't. We get a cross section. We've got people that left 30 years ago that are
Okay.
still stuck.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know because and this is the trauma of past that we hang on to and interpret and have the story, and we keep running the story. And how do you get out of the story? The same mind that creates a problem cannot solve the problem, right? So that is so important and I love hearing this because I do see people out there, students all the time. And I'm like, well, when did this happen? And 20 years ago. And I said, you're still carrying this. So there you go. There you have it. If you're carrying this around and it was a past experience, there's no reason for you not to go in and take this course and move through that. Yeah, that's really great.
We've even had people who are in new relationships with a really nice person who were sabotaging it. We've even had those.
Yes, I hear that all the time too. And it's so blatant, and they even know they're doing it. And so, yeah, people gravitate and repeat what they're familiar with, right? So, yeah, so they actually create problems where there aren't, because they're used to being in relationships with problems. So they repeat.
Right.
Yes, I think that's so fascinating. And how do you stop that? Yeah.
And if the internal emotional love code is still the people I love, the familiarity, abuse me, leave me, cheat on me, well, then there's this unhealed paranoia. But what it means is on the quantum trajectory, you're not a match for this new person. So you're going to either have to change them into being that so that you are a match, or they will have to leave and that match will have to come in. So until you actually heal that internal love code, it's never going to work with this person.
It can't. And so that's such a great point, because I tell people, healthy people will not want to hang out, and they won't stay in relationships. They won't try and fix you. They will walk. And I do see people, destroy when they finally get that wonderful person, destroy it. So I think that's really important to go get that help and work through it. So if you find that amazing person, you're not going to be sabotaging it. That's really great. We're coming up on an hour. Oh my gosh.
That went so fast.
Yeah, we might have
to have so fast.
Would you be up for that?
Sorry, Landria?
You'd be up for a second interview in the near future? Wonderful.
I'd love to. But if I can just quickly say, what I always say to people is, whether you've had any toxic, abusive, or disappointing relationship with yourself, life, and others, the program's for you, because it's just cleaning up
Yes.
past trauma and false programs. So we say narcissistic because that's obviously the height of it. But
Yes.
we've had so many people do the program who say, well, I don't even know whether I've been with a narcissistic person or not, who've just unlocked and healed themselves.
Yes, absolutely. I love it. I love this. This is great. Very exciting. It was so wonderful to meet you. And so again, I'm just going to mention that, Melanie has the new program Thrive coming up in September. You can get all that information. I'm going to include it here. So obviously, if we're past the September date, she's going to have all kinds of other things going on if it's not Thrive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the regular program that she runs. And so reach out if you have any questions. Go reach out to Melanie. She's the expert. I certainly cannot relate to this, but I absolutely hear it so much that it's obvious a big problem, and people don't know how to get out of these situations. And this is why it's so important to get coaches. And I said, it's like teaching people how to not be, get off of drugs or something. If you've never taken drugs yourself, you coming from a place of experience, all the nuances, all the little tricks, all the things, and your own feelings of why you stayed in and what happened with that. And I think it's so important when you're working with a coach who's experienced that trauma, that's and then has a solution that's obviously working. It's really powerful. So thank you for that. I think my audience is going to be very interested and going to love it. So wonderful.
Yeah, and thank you for what you're doing in the world too. And I love that we're coming from the same place,
Yes.
Manifesting from the inside out.
Yeah, absolutely. It starts here, and the world is not the problem. It's not happening to you. You have to participate on some level, and you hold the power. So, Melanie, thank you so much. And again, reach out to her if you have any questions. She'll be happy to help you. And I hope to have you on shortly. We'll arrange that. And please leave your comments. We love to hear the comments, and I'll make sure that Melanie has access so that she can answer these too. So thank you very much.
Love to.
We will see you soon.
Thank you, Landria. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.